Car Cost Canada provides the dealer's cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH to become an expert member and get access to exclusive and powerful savings. The link is in the description below. Welcome to the worldwide launch of the all-new MK8 Golf here in Portugal, and wouldn't you know it, just before we start, down comes the rain. So a lot of questions about this car. First and foremost, for North America, everybody's going to want to know, when is it coming? When is the GTI and the Golf R going to arrive as well? I'll answer all of those questions and where we are with the Golf family in just a moment. Quickly on the outside before I get in and get dry. On the outside, dimensionally, this all-new MK8 is exactly the same size. It looks different though because they lowered the nose of the car down for aerodynamic effect. And you notice the most prominent feature is the available LED matrix headlamps on this car. The good news is LED headlamps and tail lamps are standard on all MK8 Golfs coming into the North American marketplace. Wheel sizes start from 16 inches and go up to 18 inches. So you have to decide for yourself, do you like the direction they're going with the look of this new MK8 Golf? I have to tell you, I've seen it in pictures, and now today for the first time in person, it looks better in person. Let's get dry. Well, I finally dried out after driving for a little while. It is just pouring down rain today. And let's get in, before I talk about this new model specifically, to the Volkswagen Golf family for North America, because there are a lot of questions about what's coming, what's not coming, when is it coming. Let's get into that right now. So this MK8 Golf has been confirmed for the Canadian marketplace. It has not been confirmed for the US marketplace. So that's the base model Golf, the one I'm driving today. What has been confirmed for both markets is the Golf GTI and the Golf R. Those will be coming to Canada and the United States in the summer of 2021, probably late summer of 2021, as 2022 model years. So I know it sounds like it's a long way off, but that's about a year and a half from now, when the car is introduced here in Europe. We'll get the Golf, the GTI, and the Golf R all roughly around the same time. And you're probably saying, but Zach, the GTI and the Golf R haven't been introduced yet. Well, they will be coming in that time between now and the summer of 2021. Those two higher performance versions will be introduced here in Europe, so they'll all be coming within a very short time period into the North American market. So the good news is, for those that like GTI and Golf R, yes, they are coming. Unfortunately for our American friends, you're not getting the base model Golf. Canada is. Where does that leave the rest of the Golf family between now and the summer of 2021? So the current generation Golf, the MK7 Golf, is going to be made right up until the new model arrives in the Canadian marketplace. So Canada will get a regular model changed. The regular MK7 Golf will be sold, and then they'll bring in the one that I'm driving here today, the base model. Where does that leave the e-Golf and the Sportwagen and the Alltrack? Well, the Alltrack is going to be discontinued after the 2019 model year. However, they have pumped a whole bunch of them out for the North American market, and they are going to be sold through the 2020 model year, but it's 2019. So they've got a lot of capacity for that. Golf R is going to be gone after 2019 until this new one arrives. So we're down to two more cars. What's left? E-Golf and GTI. E-Golf and GTI will be made through the 2020 model year as 2020s, but then after 2020, they will no longer be made until this new one arrives. Of course, the e-Golf is going to be replaced by the full electric ID family of cars. Does that make sense? So a lot of moving parts in the Volkswagen Golf family. And you would say, well, why is that such a big deal? Well, first of all, this is the best-selling European car worldwide. They've sold 35 million of them over 45 years. In fact, they told us a stat today that's amazing. There's a Volkswagen Golf sold to somebody somewhere in the world every 45 seconds. So this is an important car. Even though the United States isn't taking the base model Golf, once those GTIs and Rs arrive, it is going to be very important. So that's the update on the Golf family of vehicles. Let's get into this car specifically. What's confirmed for the Canadian market is the 1.5 liter TSI engine. So think the engine that's available today, but just made a little bit bigger. 1.4 liters now goes to 1.5 liters. And the horsepower and torque numbers haven't been officially confirmed for the North American market. I can tell you the European numbers, roughly 150 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. So that's good for a base model car. A couple of major changes. We go from a Tiptronic transmission to a 7-speed dual clutch. That's going to be standard equipment. LED headlamps and taillights will be standard equipment. You're going to have more standard features when it comes to safety. But there are still some questions around this Volkswagen Golf for the North American market. Because it's a year and a half away, some things have not been confirmed here for our market. The first is steering. There's a regular steering rack, and then there's a progressive steering rack. Now, they're saying on the lower horsepower cars for the European market, you get the regular one. For the higher horsepower engines, you get the progressive steering rack. Because in Europe, there are 5 different power plants available for this car. In North America, we're going to start at least with just one, that 1.5 liter engine. So that's a bit of a question mark. Then there's the suspension. What did they do with the latest Jetta? They went back to a torsion beam rear suspension. And the same thing here in Europe. The lower horsepower cars get the torsion beam rear suspension, and the higher horsepower cars get an independent rear suspension. Which one we're gonna get, that's to be seen. I would hope that it's gonna be independent rear suspension for the North American market, but my brain says, I bet you we're gonna get the torsion beam, just like the Jetta. And if you want the independent suspension, spend the money and get the GTI. Another part of the reason why I think that's the case is they're taking the production of this Golf out of Mexico and back to the home plant at Wolfsburg in Germany. So maybe to keep the cost down, they'll introduce a torsion beam rear suspension for the North American, or now only the Canadian marketplace. So what I want to do now is I want to pull over and talk about the interior of this car, because for a lot of people, this will be the selling feature. And there's a lot of good news and a little bit of bad news included in this. Now, it is worth stopping and talking about the inside of this car, because I think that the inside is more of a game changer than the engine or the look of this vehicle. This is the part of the Mark 8 that I think is really going to probably sell this car to a lot of people that like new technology. Now, there's some good and there's some bad here. The first is that they call this the InnoVision cockpit. And what that means is the 10-inch digital dashboard or digital cockpit behind the steering wheel is standard on every Mark 8 Golf, or currently, to get that, it's the top models. Then you get the latest display audio system. 8.25 inches is the base screen, and the one you're looking at here is 10 inches. And the way they have the panel all situated together looks like one continuous screen. We've seen that in the industry lately, and they've done that here at Volkswagen. Now, the infotainment screen, as I mentioned, 8.25 inches or 10 inches in this unit, and it's quite logical. On the left-hand side, you have a home button similar to the home button on your smartphone. Then you go into other sub-menus. One menu that's kind of cool is the lighting menu. Up to 30 different colors available for the look and feel of the instrument cluster and the head unit, plus the ambient lighting inside the car. Plus, it's also configurable. You can change it to the color on the interior of the cabin to what your tastes are. Also, the digital cockpit, that 10-inch screen behind the steering wheel, now has different looks and different textures, and when you combine it with the color palette in the infotainment system, it really comes together to make it as individual as you please. On the left-hand side, you have other touch-sensitive things like the headlamps and the rear defroster and the defroster are all situated on the left. And that is very clean. Now, that opens up space in the center console, which is cleaned up yet again because they've gone to a digital or an electronic shifter here in the center of the console. That looks very similar to the Porsche 911 shifter. So no longer is there a big shifter for the automatic transmission, it's now this little toggle shifter. That means a gear selector by wire for park and for the start-stop. So that cleans up the center console, which makes room for a big bin for your wireless charging that's included in this car. There's also a little control panel here underneath the big infotainment screen, which gets you into things you use all the time, like climate, your drive modes, the parking menu and the assist features for the automated assistance in the car. So that's a nice quick reference that you can use. However, you would think that Volkswagen would have learned by looking at others in the industry that have gone to touch-sensitive swipe features in cars like Cadillac and Lincoln, and a lot of people didn't like that technology. They've included that here, so there is no volume knob. You slide your hand over this plastic feature in the center, and you turn the volume up and down. In theory, it works just fine. When you're driving, when you're moving around, it's not that simple. Now, same thing with the temperature settings. You slide your finger across that, they go up and down. You do get used to it. Is it better? I don't know. They really want to make this the car of the future with new technology for a new batch of buyers, but there are going to be some people that don't like it. I would like sort of the Audi approach where you have all of that, but you still just put one little rotary dial in the center here where they've made room because of the shifter to have you operate the radio, up and down volume, so simple. However, you do get a similar looking and feeling Volkswagen steering wheel, and there are redundant buttons here, so it's not all lost. You can control the car this way as well. Now here's a cool thing. You just touch the light in the center here, it switches on, and you touch it once to switch it off. Okay, you touch it once to turn it on, and then you just hold it and it dims. Why you would need a dimming, I'm not sure, but you have that. And the materials in here are first class. I was having on the latest Volkswagen Golfs, the Mark 7 and this Mark 8. Nice soft touch materials. The seats are comfortable. It looks very clean and modern. So they have taken this car that was already a winner in many levels and amped it up to all new technology. You can see when you get in here, some of the stuff we saw in the ID cars is being integrated in here a little bit early, making it look more conventional than that car. But the space is exactly the same. The dimensions of this car do not change. The inside is going to have the same amount of rear seat and cargo area as the previous model, but you get all this new in-dash technology. All right, one more quick spin, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this new Golf. Now, final thoughts on this Mark 8 Golf. Well, one thing's for sure, I have a car today that has DCC, Dynamic Chassis Control. We typically see that in North America in GTI and Golf R. Not sure if we're going to get it on the base model Golf that I'm driving here today for the Canadian market. And that does make a difference. And it's been nice to be able to turn it up to the sportiest settings for these beautiful twisty roads. And then when you get on the highway, turn it down. And they've made the parameters of that much wider, so it's sportier on one end and more relaxed on the other. It drives like a Golf. The actual drive itself isn't too different from the existing Golf we have now. And that's a good thing because it's smooth, it's quiet, it's refined, it feels well planted on the road. All the things that we've come to enjoy from the Mark 7 Golf is carried over. All of this other stuff makes this car really something unique. I'm just thinking to myself, what do you have at play here? This is a compact car, but it has a lot of premium car features. I've always called the Volkswagen small car family Audi Light, and I think this is truer today with this Mark 8 than ever. It has a lot of premium car feel inside here. Fully digital instrument cluster, big advanced technology screens, nice cabin with nice materials, nicely put together, standard LED headlamps. It all looks much more upscale. The big question is, how much is it going to cost? And how much of this are we going to get in the Canadian marketplace? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. I hope there's a case for bringing some of these advanced features in. We do know that the instrument cluster will be the same. We do know that the LED lamps will be the same. We don't know which suspension and which steering rack we're going to get. Let's keep our fingers crossed that they do the right thing and bring in independent rear suspension. We'll have to wait and see. So it seems like a long way away to get a 2022 model year, but it's about a year and a half. The summer of 2021 is when we'll get the Golf. We're going to get the R and the GTI right around the same time. It's not that many sleeps till we get it. And I think the way you have to look at this is that maybe where you live, you might not get Golf, but you're going to get GTI and you're going to get Golf R. And based on what you see here, I think it's going to be very exciting. There's some beautiful looking cars ahead based on this base model Golf. Car Cost Canada provides the dealer's cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH to become an expert member and get access to exclusive and powerful savings. The link is in the description below.